Hi guys! In this video, we're going to use Django to create an authentication system where users can register, log in, log out, do whatever they want, and forget their passwords. Because we'll be creating a password reset system, the one where users receive an email with a tokenized URL that expires after a period of time. Alright, now let's start coding. Let's create a new directory. Let's call it Auth is very easy. And now we want to open it in Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to right click and open in terminal, and then I'll type in code space period and hit enter. Next up, I'll open terminal because I need to make sure that I have Python installed. We can check by typing in py or python -- version and hitting enter. This is the version of Python I have installed. If you don't have Python installed, please make sure to install it. You can go to python.org/downloads, download it and install it very easily. If you have Python installed, then it's time to create a Python environment. To do that, just click on View, Command Palette, Python, Create Environment. We will select venv to create a virtual environment. And then we're going to click on our Python's path and wait a bit until creating environment finishes. Next up, I'm going to open a new terminal just to make sure that it recognizes the virtual environment. Now, we're gonna need to install Django. To do that, we will type in pip install Django and hit enter. Then we're gonna have to wait a bit. While we wait, I would like to ask you to hit the like button if you're enjoying the video and to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. And now that we have Django installed, we can create a new Django project. The command for starting project is Django Admin start project and then the name of our project. So let's type that in and hit enter. Right, we have the scaffolding of our project set up for us. And what we'll do next is cd into our projects directory, which is my site. Hit enter. We'll use manage.py to run server. So py manage.py run server. All right, if we click and follow link, we'll see that the install worked successfully and everything is great. Let me show you something I love about Django, which is the admin page, which we get to by adding /admin to our URL and hitting enter. And as you can see, there is a login page. To be able to log in, we're gonna have to create super user. To do this, let's go back to our IDE, and we first need to disconnect by hitting Control and C or Command and C. Then we're gonna need to run migrations. As you see, Django is telling us that we have 18 unapplied migrations. So py manage.py migrate, and we hit enter. And now we can create super user. So py manage.py again, and this time we'll write the command create super user. After that, we'll get prompts asking us for a username, email, and password, and confirm password. If our passwords don't match, we'll be asked to type them in again. Now, we need to run server again. So py manage.py run server. Now let's follow link and go back to the admin page. And let's type in our username and our password. Hit enter, and voila, we have logged in into the user administration page. And what we can do here is create users and groups for our users. We could also see all the users that are available, and we can do so much more with our admin page. It's actually awesome. All right, what I want to show you now is how easy it is to create an awesome authentication system and make it look really good super duper quickly. Let's go to our urls.py. Over here, we have a very handy explanation from the awesome Django team. Let's just delete it. and as you can see over here, we have the path to admin that we have visited earlier. Now, we need to tell Django that we also want to create path for authentication. By the way, Django comes with authentication installed and enabled, complete with middleware and everything. So let's go back to our urls.py, and we're going to add another path to our URL patterns, and that's going to be path accounts. And now we're gonna need to include from Django.urls, because we are gonna need to include django.contrib.auth.urls. And if we run server again, we will find that the URL pattern accounts was created for us. If we go to it by typing in /accounts/, we will find that Django created all of these URLs for us, which really does save us a lot of time. Now I would like to show you how we can create custom templates for each of these URLs. What we're gonna need to do is first go to our settings.py and import OS. We are going to need it in order to tell Django where to look for templates. So we're gonna go here where templates is defined, and in theirs we are going to add os.path.join base dir templates. And now we can create a templates directory in our base directory, which is here on the same level as manage.py, and Django will be able to find it. So let's do it. Let's create a directory, call it templates, and Django will look for the templates related to authentication within a directory inside the templates directory that's called registration. So let's create it, and let's create within it a login.html file. However, before we start typing code within our authentication template files, let's make our life much easier by creating a base.html file. Within it, we can add our HTML boilerplate. And this way, we are not going to have to write it in every page we create. I'm just gonna get some boilerplate from anywhere online. Just copy and paste, and then I'll clean it up. Another thing we can do with our base.html is create blocks. For example, we could go here where we usually have our title, and we could create a block. To define a block, you just use curly brackets, and between the curly brackets, you put 2 percentage signs and you write the word block, and then you write the name of the block. You can call your blocks whatever you want, but since this block is where we'll be keeping the title, so we'll call it block title. And then you have to end block where you want to end it. So just end block. We can also provide a default title that we can override if we choose. Let's make the title my site. And if we want to override it later in any template that will inherit from this base, we'll be able to do it very easily. Now let's go to our body element and create a block and call it content. And that's where our content will be. Of course, we could create as many blocks as we want. For now, let's just keep it minimal. And let's go back to our login.html. To use this base template, what we're going to need to do is use the word extends and type in the name of the layout template or the base template. And now let's get hold of block title, and let's make the title here login, because this is the login page. We have to remember to write end block. For the main part, we'll open block content, and let's also write end block so we don't forget it. And now for the cool part, we're going to create a form element with the method post and action URL login. And within our form, we want to add CSRF token. CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery. And that's a security measure that helps protect against certain types of attacks. And the fact that you can just add the CSRF token that easily is also one of the things I really love about Django. Then to render our form.asp. And then we want to create a button, give it the type, submit. And we want it to say login. Now let's run server again. So py manage.py run server. And go to account/login. And here's our login page. If we try to log in using the super user we've created earlier, it should let us. So let's try. And it actually worked. We are logged in. However, upon logging in, by default, Django redirects users to accounts/profile. And since we haven't defined a URL pattern matching accounts/profile, we're getting a 404 error. Anyhow, I have promised you a beautiful authentication system. So let's get to it. When using Django, static files are what we refer to when we mean files such as images, JavaScript, or CSS. Let's go back to our project. Let's create a new directory and let's call it static. And inside it, let's create a new directory and call it CSS. That's where we're gonna have our CSS file. And while we're at it, let's create a new file and call it styles.css. Before we'll be able to actually use this file, we're gonna have to tell Django where to find it. So we're gonna go to our settings.py, and under paste there, we are going to type in all caps, static files underscore theirs, and then we're going to open a list to point to the location of our static directory. So os.path.join, and then in all caps, space there, comma, static. Now we should be able to use our static folder and apply CSS styling to our templates. Let's go to our base.html, and in order to be able to use static files, we're gonna need to add in this line of code on top, which is load static. Then we're going to add the link tag to our head element like we do with any HTML file, but there's a difference in the href because we are going to link to our CSS using Django templating language. So we'll start with the curly brackets, then the percentage sign, and between them we'll write static. Between single quotes, we'll add in the relative path to our files. So CSS styles.css. Let's go to our styles.css file. Let's target the body element, and we can add a background, linear gradient. Let's set it to bottom, and let's make the color transparent to, let's say, blue. Let's refresh. Oh, this is not what I had in mind. Okay, so let's target our HTML element and let's set height to 100% to fix this and refresh. How about we change font family to sans serif while we're at it? Right now, how about we try and center our form by changing the body's display to flex and adding align items center and justify content center. Let's refresh and let's give the body height 100 VH. Yes, cool. And now let's add some styling to our form element. Let's give it the background color white. Let's make its border radius 5%. padding, let's say 2 rem. Font weight, let's say 700. And let's give it some box shadow. 0, 0, 10 pixels. And RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.3. Max width, let's say fit content. To center the form horizontally, let's add margin 0 or auto. And now we want to target form input as well as form select, form text area. And we want to make their width 100%. Margin bottom, let's say 10 pixels. Padding, also 10 pixels. Box sizing, border box. And let's also add in some box shadow for good measure. And make border none. And maybe add in some padding. Let's make it 1M. Let's refresh. Now let's target the button. So form button, display. Let's make it block, width 100%, padding, let's say 15 pixels, font size, let's say 16 pixels. Let's refresh. And now let's choose a background color. Let's make it something bluish. Right, and border none, color white, border radius, say 5 pixels. And let's make the cursor pointer. All right, let's refresh. How about we also change the background color on hover? So form button hover. Let's make the background color. Let's copy this color and then make it slightly darker. We can add a transition effect. So transition, background color. And let's say 0.3 seconds is in. Let's refresh. And I think it looks really good. However, I'm not sure if the shadow is showing. Maybe I made a typo. So let's fix that. I think I added this comma by accident. Let's remove the commas. All right. And I think that looks better. Let's make this 5 pixels. All right, now let's see what happens if we write a username that doesn't exist and try to log in. Oh, we get an error and it completely ruins our design because we set the max width to fit content. All right, so let's change that by setting a width for our form. I'm going to set the width to 300 pixels and refresh. Yeah, and this looks better. How about we also add styling to the error and make it look a little bit less ugly. So to target it, it will be form error list li, and let's set the list style type to none, and let's change the color also. Let's make it some reddish color since it's an error, but since our color palette is blue, let's try to make it a bit on the cooler side. Maybe like this. Yeah, I guess that looks better. Let's also add media query just to make it a little responsive. So add media screen. All right, let's make it max width 600 pixels, form width 90%. All right, and now let's see how it would look like on a phone. I think it actually looks pretty decent. Now I want to show you how easy and painless it's going to be to create the rest of the views for our full-fledged authentication system. Let's create the view for password reset. We should name it password reset form.html. I'm just going to copy everything from our login.html file and paste it. And I'm going to delete this part, the action. And I'm also going to change the page title in the block title and make it password reset. And now if we navigate to accounts/password reset, here it is. Here's our form made for us already. Let's change login to send password reset email. And here it is. Now let's try hitting it. And Django knows we haven't inserted a valid email. All right, so if the user inserts a valid email and hits this button, the user is supposed to receive an email with a tokenized link that would take him to a page that would allow him to change his password. Let's actually register an email that Django is going to use to communicate with our users first. The first thing we want to do is create a new file and call it .env. That's where we're going to keep sensitive information like our email and email password. So let's create two variables. The first one would be the email that we're going to use. The second one would be the mail password. I'm going to write a fake email just to show you an example and a fake password, and then I'm going to change them. So let's say my fake email is fake@mail.com and my password is fake password 6. Of course, those are fake. And now in order to be able to use our .env file, we are going to need to install a Python library called .env. And I'll just copy the command pip install python.env and disconnect server, paste it and hit enter. All right, and once it's installed, let's go to our settings.py and then we want to import load.env. So from .env import load.env. Then we want to load.env and let's scroll all the way down and let's declare a variable and call it mail because we want to get our email address. So os.environ.get mail, and then we also want to get the mail password. So same thing, os.environ.get and then mail pass. And then we're going to declare another variable, call it email backend, and it would be django.core.mail.smtp.email backend. And then here we're declaring another variable and it's email host. And since the email I'm using is an Outlook, I'll type in smtp mail.outlook.com and then email port is 587. Email use TLS true. Email host user is mail, this variable, and email host password is mail pass, and then default from email, let's make it also mail, and we can add in email subject prefix, let's make it password recovery. And now how about we create the file that will actually contain the email that we'll send to our users when they request a password reset. All right, so the file should be called password_reset_email.html. So let's create a new file and give it that name. And I'm going to go back to the Django docs and I'm going to copy the email body template provided and paste it. If we examine it, we'll see it says someone asked for password reset for email, and here we have an alias for the actual email of the user, and then follow the link below, and protocol is like HTTP and then the domain of our website, and then it links to password reset confirm. Here we have the user ID and here we have a generated token. All right, so let's create the template view for the password reset confirm. So new file, and we're gonna call it password underscore reset underscore confirm .html. And just like we've done in our other HTML files related to our authentication views, let's extend base.html. Actually, I'm just gonna copy the whole thing and then edit it. All right, so let's change the title to password change confirm, and let's delete this. And inside our block content, we'll also have a form with the method post, and it will also contain a CSRF token. And then we would wanna render our form as P and also add in a button with the type submit. Another file we should also create is password reset done.html. And for this one, I just want to tell our user that we've emailed them the instructions. So we've emailed you the instructions for resetting your password. And now the one thing left to do, other than creating a user and seeing if they can change their password, is adding a reset password link to our login page. So let's do that. So under the login button, I'm just gonna add a link element and make the href URL password underscore reset and make it say lost password. And that's it. All right, let's check on our website. Let's go to accounts/login. And here's the lost password link that we can click on. All right, now before we try out our authentication system and see if the email gets sent, let's go back to accounts to check if we've created a template for each URL path. And I think the one that's missing is password reset complete, which is supposed to show up after a user successfully changes their password. So let's create it quickly. Password reset complete .html. So just like we've done with the others, let's just copy this and we'll just say password changed. All right, I think now we're ready to create a user and then test the authentication system on them. So let's go to admin and add user, and let's make the username Pico. Let's give it a password, save, and then let's input a real email address and save. Right, we have a user with an email address. Now let's go back to accounts/login and let's click on lost password and let's input an email associated with an account we've created, and let's hit send password reset email. Okay, and now we see this page which is password reset done. All right, now if we check our email, we should find that we've received an email, hopefully. So let's check. I'm guessing that it's gonna be in the spam folder. And here it is. That's our email. Okay, let's click on the link. All right, and here is our password change form. Okay, let's input a new password. Right, let's save it. Yay, password changed. Cool. Now, the only thing missing from a full-fledged authentication system, at least in my opinion, is a registration form. So let's go back to our project and let's create a new file within our project directory and let's call it views.py. All right, and now we're gonna import a bunch of things. The first of which is our user model. So from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. And then we wanna import user creation form. So from Django.contrib.auth.forms import user creation form. And then we also want to import login. So from Django contrib.auth import login. And then we also want to import forms from Django. So let's do this. Right, and now we're going to define class, let's say registration form, which will inherit from Django's user creation form. However, unlike the typical user creation form, our form will have an added email field. So forms.email field, and we want to make it required. And then let's add class meta, and our model is user, and the fields in our form will be user name, email, password, and password 2. Now let's define a view that is going to both display our registration form and process the form when submitted. Def registration underscore view, and it takes in the param request, and then if request dot method is post, then form is going to be registration form request dot post, and then we want to check if our form is valid, and if it is, then we want to create the user. So form dot save, and then we want to log in the user. So login request user, and then we want to take the user somewhere, but the problem is we haven't created an index page yet. So I'm just going to return redirect index, and then we can create an index page. Also, we're gonna need to import redirect. So from Django shortcuts, we're gonna import redirect, and we're gonna need render as well to render our HTML files. Okay, and then if the method is not post, then form is registration form. Do we wanna return render request and registration slash register.html, which is an HTML file we have not created yet. And we want to pass in our form. Now we have two things on our to-dos, or actually three. We need to create the index view. So let's quickly define it. So def index request, and then we want to return render request and index.html. Now we're gonna have to go to our urls.py and create the paths to our registration view and our index view. Then we're gonna have to create the templates for both of them. So let's go to our urls.py first. First, we have to import our views. So from .views import index and registration view. And then let's add in path to index. So index, the name, index. And now we want to add in the path to our registration view as well. So it will be path, and let's make a accounts slash register registration view and the name is register. Okay, and now let's go to our templates and let's create a file and call it index.html. And what I want to do is I just want to first extend base.html and then just copy these lines of code from the docs. If user is authenticated, then our page would say welcome and show the username, thanks for logging in. Else it would say welcome new user, please log in. Let's link to our login page and our register page, which we still need to create the template for. To register, we forgot to add block content and block. All right, now that we have them, let's check it out. Let's go to /index and here it is. It knows me. It says, welcome Super Pico. Thanks for logging in. If we want, we could also add an option for logging out. Logout views in Django expect a post request. Then it would be best if we create a form element with the action URL logout and the method post. All right, let's add in a CSRF token as well. And we'll create a button with the type submit, and it will be our logout button. Before we preview what we've just done, I think it would be much better if we go back to our urls.py and change the fact that we have to type /index in order to get to our index page and make it take us to our index by default. So to do this, we just leave empty quotes like this. And now let's go to our website and see if it works. Oh, let's go to our index page again and let's remove this and put it inside of our form. All right, so that's what happens when we are logged in. If we click on logout, we will be redirected to Django's logout template that we could have overridden if we wanted to, just like we've done the other authentication templates. However, we could also do something cooler, which is just go to settings.py and make it redirect us back to our index page, because I think we don't need a logout view at all. So to do this, add in the line logout redirect _ URL, and between quotation we'll just add a /. Also, let's do the same thing for login. I'm just gonna copy this line, paste it, and instead of logout we'll have login. All right, and we need to run server again. All right, and let's refresh. Okay, let's log in. All right, if we click on logout, we would log out. If we want, we could commit some CSS crimes and just add a form element, just so that we have homogeneous design. It looks like this. Of course, if you're developing a real website, make a div, you know. All right, and now let's just create our register.html file. So register.html. Okay, and just like we've done so many times before, let's just copy the login form and paste it. And here we'll change the title to register, and let's change the action to URL register. Okay, we'll keep our CSRF token as is, form as P. Let's change the button content to register. And here, let's add URL login, and it can say already have an account. All right, I think that is it. This should do it. So let's go back to our page. Let's refresh. And let's hit register. Oh, I made a typo. Really silly typo. Uh-oh. There is an extra password field, and I think I know why that is. Right, so let's go back to our IDE and find the views.py. I think that the reason we have an extra field is because I have named password here incorrectly, and it should be password1 because we're extending user creation form model, and typically the first password is named password1, not just password. So hopefully now, if we refresh, our registration form would be fixed. Yay! It is fixed. We have only one password. Well, we have two password fields, just like we're supposed to. Right, so let's try registering. Let's try making a new user. Let's call it test user, and let's input an email. Let's say test tester.test, and let's add a password, confirm it, and then register. Yay, it worked. And we see welcome test user. Thanks for logging in. Right, you guys, looks like we've done it. Let's try to log out. And now it tells us welcome new user, please log in or register. And we can choose to log in or register. Right, you guys, we've done it. Yay! Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I really had so much fun coding with you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Oh, and if you have any questions, any suggestions, ideas, anything at all, leave that down in the comments. I'd love to read that. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day and see you next time. Bye-bye.